So now that we've had a chance to look at what a qualitative research article looks like, let's look at a quantitative to look at what some of the differences are in presenting the findings of your research. This article is by my old advisor at Tech. She did an online survey of editors and their role in the workplace and their points of view on the whole editing process. I think this is a really good article to use just as an aside when you guys are working on your literature reviews, because I think she does a great job of grouping her different themes that she identifies. And I think that writing up your themes when you're accumulating all the past research that's been done on your topic is the hardest part, because you've got all these disparate views and you're not really sure how to synthesize it. So I would definitely read through her lit review just to see how she has presented the previous studies that have been conducted in her area before she moved on. And that'll help give you guys a good idea once you guys are at the point of writing your micro studies. So basically, once she has identified the themes from prior studies, she makes her research questions really easy to find. She's not using hypothesis because she's still doing an exploratory study, even though it is a quantitative study. She just wants to see a wide range of editors' views on these different topics. So she thought that conducting a wide survey would be the best way to answer these research questions. She talks about pilot testing in that previous page down here. She based them on a brief interview. They conducted 19 pilot interviews with authors, and then they decided to see if the interviews extrapolated to a wider population by using the big survey. So they talk about the sampling plan, the response rates. This is a basic view of the demographics of the respondents. She talks about that. That's usually where you start with your quantitative data, because you need to be able to give a good overview of who participated in your study, how many were men, how many were female, how many were of an older demographic or younger or had more education or less education, those types of things, just to show like what made up your sample, especially if you're working in the numbers of like the hundreds. And she's working with 449 respondents. So once we've got all the demographic data, she's starting to present the results. And the biggest difference between the qualitative and a quantitative article like this one, and the one that we just looked at that was in an ethnography, is just the use of numerical data. She's going to have a ton of charts showing the breakdown of different questions. I think her survey is at the end of the article. But basically, you can just skim through and show how she has presented the results. Usually in a quantitative study, you've got to both provide charts to just give like a visual description of what you guys are presenting, and then you also talk about it in detail in regular paragraph form. So but I really like these different diagrams because I can show like the overlap of things that you can't really do with the qualitative data, just because you don't have that proportion that you're showing because you've got such a small sample. So this lets you work with data a lot more visually. So go ahead and just look through that, and she uses almost every single chart in the book to explain herself. So I just thought this was a really good example to show you what a quantitative study would look like. Particularly in comparison to Draga's study on is this ethical. That'll give you a good idea about how you can present data results too.